Hello, YouTube audience. Welcome to another episode of Survive Unplugged. I took some time off. I got sick of myself. But it's time to do another one of these videos, and I'm on chapter 4 this time of the 12 Rules for Life. I want to try to, I came at it a different way this time. Kind of got bored with the way that I was doing it, so I figured I'd do it a different way. By the way, it's Friday, June 14th, roughly about 6:18 p.m. Hope you're having a magnificent day. This is the last thing that I said that I would accomplish today, and if I do it, it will be fantastic. Let's move on. Chapter 4. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not who someone else is today. Who do you compare yourself to? I've never done much of that in my life. Although I do find myself going back to like my dad, my grandfathers, and my uncles. And I think that's just to determine for myself whether or not I measure up, if I grew up to be what they sort of raised me to be. I did have a guy, he was an elder in a fellowship I was in, about 30 years ago, 25 years ago, something like that. But anyway, he was a tomato grower before I started being a man of the soil. I didn't know I had it in me. But we had Bible talk at his house one evening, and he took me to his backyard, and he had the most magnificent tomatoes. So I took a thing with tomatoes. That was always something that I wanted to be good at, growing tomatoes, and I like them. So I usually go 4 different varieties. But yeah, I actually wound up having a magnificent harvest, and I took him over there, and he was impressed. So I didn't compare myself to him for too long. But I don't too much compare myself to people. But let's see. Going back, the first little section was titled "The Internal Critic," and it's often said that we're our own worst critics, and I think that about myself, that I can be highly critical of myself. Wow. That's one of those things that you would have to edit out. Something else just went through my mind having to do with that, but then I'd be expounding on this way past what I intended to do. Are you a critic of yourself? I am. Fear of failure is something that always stops me from doing things. I tend to lean, because I'm a critic of myself, highly critical of myself. I tend to stick with things that I believe I can do, things that I can be effective at. So I sort of lean towards my strengths, and I tend to avoid my weaknesses. Hence being out here on YouTube and my little brain poots, like the one that I just did. I guess I should probably edit that out, right? Make myself some fantastic individual. Well, one day I will, and make it more exciting for you, but I got to get over myself and do this. Yeah, that's one reason why I'm doing these videos. Get over a fear. Get over some kind of a fear of presenting myself in public, have people looking at me and my imperfection. So even though I got sick of myself and my videos, I'm going to continue to do them. And so there's always a risk when you go out and you step out and you do something new, because there's a fear of failure. Inadequacies, all these little things pop into your mind. So anyway, that's something that I got out of that little section there. However, I want to quote something, and I only got these 3 little cards this time. On page 90, this is one thing that I really enjoyed. Instead of, what was that? Being critical, self-critical. Dare instead to be dangerous. Dare to be truthful. Dare to articulate yourself and express, or at least become aware of, what would really justify your life. Dare instead to be dangerous. Dare to be truthful. Dare to articulate yourself and express what would really justify your life. Wow. I'd have to think about what would justify my life. Like, what's the purpose? What's my purpose going forward? You know, what difference will I make in the world? Why am I here? That kind of a thing. Grow food. I mean, what else? What difference can I make in this world? And then there was another one. Perhaps happiness is always to be found in the journey uphill and not in the fleeting sense of satisfaction awaiting the next peak. I'll say that, read that again. That's on page 94 of that book, chapter 4. Perhaps happiness is always to be found in the journey uphill, the struggle. The fruit is in the struggle. I spent a career as a CPA, financial statement auditor, and business consultant. And I do, one of the things that I consult on is business transition, where one company, usually it's the owner, a founder, more often than not, started the company when they were young, and now they're typically over 60. And they want to sell the business and enjoy life. This is California. Things can be kind of challenging here to do business. So usually it's, the straw that breaks the camel's back, and then the business owner decides to sell. I'm usually called in to sort of navigate the waters of the transaction. But oftentimes, usually I get a chance to sit, every time I get a chance to sit down and talk with them. And the one thing that they spend the most time talking about is not what they're going to do now that they're retired and have sold their business and received millions and millions of dollars. It's not even what they've bought or where they live, but it's the struggle. I started the business in the garage. I've had a couple of those. And then they talk about, over a lunch, just about the whole process of building and growing and the struggle, all the challenges that they had to get through, the times where they thought the business wouldn't make it. And so here we are sitting after 40 years oftentimes of them running and managing their business. That's what they want to talk about, the struggle. So I think he has something there. Perhaps happiness is always to be found in the journey uphill and not in the fleeting sense of satisfaction awaiting at the next peak. Enjoy the struggle. Young people, I don't know. The difficulty is what makes it all worthwhile. Nothing worthwhile is easy. It's always difficult. So if you're going through difficulty in life like I am, when we get to that peak, when we can peer out over that horizon, when that mountain is no longer in our way, all that we're going through now will be worthwhile. Brings me to off the book. This past Sunday, we had, Saturday, my aunt's birthday was, one of my aunt's birthdays was Friday. And then Saturday she hosted, or sort of led at her church congregation, an effort to donate or to bring in items to sell as a fundraiser for the fellowship for that particular congregation. So it was all day Saturday, 10 a.m. I think they wrapped it up around 4. And people brought in things that they no longer needed, unused items. Some of that stuff was new that people brought in and they just never used it. Old wedding gifts, those kinds of things. I actually, as a bachelor, opened up a set of china that I bought for my first wife. We were together, I think, 10 years. We never did eat off that china together. But eventually, I opened it up and cracked it. Now I eat off of nice china from China. Yeah, that's where I got it from, Hong Kong. That would have been 1980 something, 88, 89, something like that. Anyway, transformation. She called it from trash to treasure. Bring in your trash and help us turn it into treasure. Advance the kingdom of God, that kind of a thing. We brought in, unused things, dormant things just sitting around in the garage or whatever, not collecting dust, not being productive. Unproductive assets is what we call those in the accounting world. And then transform them to something that is used, from trash to treasure. Sometimes I feel like my life, aspects of it, no, not all of it, but there are aspects of my life that I feel like are trash. I just need to discard that and build something new. So I have to do a bit of transformation myself. And so that's what this whole book, that's one reason why I read it. I wanted to see what the guy has in terms of tools in order for me to sort of implement ideas. And so far, so good. I'm satisfied with reading it. I'm still not done. But anyway, which brings me to us being transformed into more beneficial people. Yep. And what I've learned, or what I've seen, what I've observed as a CPA in my career, is the more beneficial you can make yourself, or the more valuable you can make yourself to the most people, the more rewarded you will be. And that's why actors and sports figures, because a lot of people are watching them, so they get encouraged, or that kind of a thing. Movies, ooh, wow, you're entertaining, so it's an audience. You're touching a broad scope of people, so you have and then there's depth, more like, I don't know, professional things, where what you're doing is extremely valuable to someone, so they'll pay you a lot of money. So it's $1 from 1 million people will give you $1 million, or $1 million from one person, but it's the impact of the benefit that you provide to other people. So we can all transform ourselves and make ourselves more useful, more beneficial, more valuable to society and to ourselves, our families, those kind of a thing. So that's what I'm working on now, just trying to make myself. And I haven't worked as a CPA since before COVID, before the whole shutdown thing. And I'm going back out there and putting my resume out, and I'm dealing with a lot of that, what do they call it, the first and the second. I'd never experienced that before, where you go through these rounds of interviews. That's how I see people talking about them on YouTube. But now I'm in it myself. So if you're an older 50-something-year-old person returning to the workforce, hey, listen, you're not alone, pal. And it's interesting, but it's one no after another no after another no, and as many no's as it takes to hear a yes. And so that's sort of how I look at it. Knock on enough doors, and eventually one will open. But anyway, transforming ourselves into something more useful. I was asked to do a little message on Sunday. We had a little event Saturday, Trash to Treasure, and then on Sunday was the service that was sort of oriented toward that theme. And I think they honored my aunt for her birthday, and then the pastor's 50th year anniversary. And so I did a little tap dance and did a little encouraging little thing on from trash to treasure. And I just like to share one little part of it. I had to go in the house and get this, by the way. And I just like to read from Romans. And if you don't read from this book, don't worry about it. It's a principle that is just true. You may hear it in other books and from other people, but it does bear truth. And this is from Romans 12, number 1. Chapter 12, 1 and 2. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies as a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. Now, this is the juicy part. And be not conformed to this world and all the negativity. I just heard today that I watched. I like a guy by the name of Jimmy Dore. Maybe I'll give him a shout out. But yeah, I'm not a progressive. I don't know what. But I'm sort of libertarian in my ways, conservative libertarian. But anyway, he and a couple of other YouTube channels, or once you click on one, you see it appears that the Saudi Arabia has dropped the dollar as the sole currency to trade in oil. So maybe the U.S. dollar won't be the reserve currency. If you're in America, we're dealing with a migrant crisis, drug crisis. Homeless crisis, economic crisis, an energy crisis, I mean, we're just filled with crises and nothing's being solved. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. What is that good and acceptable and perfect will of yourself? What do you want to be? What do I want to be? This is the thing that I'm dealing with myself. Be transformed. And so that's what I'm going through the process now, just transforming myself. I transform the ground into something that grows something out of just dead dirt, dormant dirt. We transform things all the time as human beings, make weapons, make tools. We fashion art. And so we are in a sense a transformative species, the Homo sapien. So we can transform our situation, our circumstances. But first we have to transform our minds, which is what I've got to transform myself to. I mean, I go first. We can change ourselves into the better person that we can change ourselves into the better person that we choose to be. I don't know. What do you choose to be? I don't know what I'm struggling with this YouTube thing. I don't want to commit because I don't think I'd be any good at it. So it's one of those things where I'm doing it to get over something, but it's not a natural inclination. I don't know if I can be the most effective, but maybe I can be if I transform myself into a YouTuber. But what would be my shtick, so to speak? But ending it real quick, 16 minutes, 17 minutes, not bad. But do not compare yourselves to others, but compare yourself to the you that you were yesterday. Improvement. Like when I look at this thing, I could look at somebody else's garden and their stuff will be bigger than mine, or, he makes more, it's just... But yeah, compare yourself to what you can do. I often look at it as like, do one push-up. If you can do one push-up and that's all you can do, 2 push-ups is an improvement. And then once you can do 2 push-ups, 3 push-ups is an improvement. Or whatever. And I write every day now. I've been doing that for about 3 or 4 weeks. That's one thing. I want to get this book done, but I have to write every day. I don't always write toward the book, but I do make it a point to express myself. So I'm in the process of transforming myself into something different. So anyway, stick around, tune in, and maybe you'll see a new guy down the road. Anyway, I hope you have a fantastic day, and I hope you have great success in your own lives and endeavors. All right, take good care until next time. Out.